Excellent. Thank you. All right, I am going to call this GOL meeting to order. It is August 12th, 6:32 p.m. Thank you all for being here today. And we know that we are down one member for the meeting tonight. Hopefully, Councillor Lord can join us when she's able, but Councillor DeAngelis will not be here today. We are going to jump right into it. We're going to do a little bit of an order switch up on the agenda because we've had folks who are able to join us to talk about some of these proclamations. And so we're going to start with the proclamations briefly before going to the other items on our agenda, if that sounds okay. So I will first start with public comment. I won't jump that back. So if there are any members of the public who would like to make public comment, please raise your hand now. Please note that if you are here to talk about one of the resolutions or proclamations, you will have a chance to, and you are a sponsor, we will bring you into the room when we discuss those. This is general public comment. Go ahead and raise your Zoom hand. Okay, and we have 5 attendees today. So seeing no public comment, we are going to move on to our first well, it's a commemoration, which is exciting. Sorry, the number of tabs in this moment. Okay. And so Athena, can we bring in George? And then George, you are going to tell me who else to bring in for the St. Bridget's commemoration. And welcome, George.
Thank you. I'm going to turn my camera on.
Did you say that someone else would be joining you?
Yes, I'm hoping Ken Rath is in the audience.
Yes, he is. Could you bring, Athena, could you bring Ken in? Oh, I've realized I forgot to do something first, George, if you don't mind waiting. I forgot to make sure, because we were talking in the practice session, I forgot to officially make sure everyone can hear me and be heard. So that's on me. I'm going to do that quickly. And now Hala has joined us. So let's start with Hala. Can you hear me and can we hear you? I think you're on a phone, so I'll give you a second to unmute, but you are still muted at this point. While we let Hala unmute Lynn.
Yes.
And Councillor Ete.
Hi.
Awesome. Hala, are you able to hear us and unmute yourself? Okay, not quite yet. It looks like. Hala, when you are able to, just let us know that you can hear us and we can hear you. We still do have a quorum, so we will go ahead. Welcome, Ken and George. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to share the commemoration. You'll notice some track changes I made just to get it a little bit more formatted, and then I had a couple suggestions. So I'm going to pull that up and we can go through it. But while I pull that up, is there anything either of you would like to say as we get started?
Well, I appreciate you putting us at the top of the meeting. That's appreciated.
Nothing other than thank you.
No problem. All right, great. Okay, so as a reminder for folks, what GOL does is we are just looking through this for what's called clarity, consistency, and actionability. We are not here to comment on the content of the commemoration.
Oh, sorry for interrupting. Anna, Hala is, Councillor Lord is unmuted.
Thanks so much, Athena. Hala, awesome, we can hear you. Perfect.
Thank you so much. All right.
Thanks, Athena. So we are reviewing for clarity, meaning can the average person understand what this is trying to say? Consistency, meaning does this look and feel like the other commemorations, proclamations we've done? And actionability, meaning are we promising something that we can't deliver on in this commemoration? That's the very, very simplified version. Counselors, as we go through this, or GOL members, sorry, as we go through this, you'll see my edits in red, and let me know if you have any edits so far on the title or the sponsors. Okay. Counselor Ette?
I had mentioned, I believe, to Councillor Ryan that I was interested in sponsoring this as well.
Great. Okay.
I'm
Yep.
sorry, I should have also said the same thing.
Okay. I gotta do these in alphabetical order now too, sorry. Okay. All right. Whereas in September 1925, the current St. Bridget's Church building dedicated. Any issues? I just had, because we read these out loud, I just spelled out Massachusetts. And then I changed it to be a former church because grammatically that, or logically that seems to make more sense to me. But again, push back on any of my changes, folks. This is not. Second, whereas I did change this to say their congregation versus the faithful, just because lots of other faithful folks that may not.
Sure.
Received sacraments, fostering community, contributing. Whereas I have actually a question. Would we ever spell out saint, or is it always abbreviated? That it can stay a rhetorical question and we can leave it abbreviated.
I think that it really doesn't matter one way or the other, whatever your preference is.
Okay, great. Counselor Ette, did you have a note on this one?
Yeah. So it reads, whereas St. Bridget's and its members have continued the tradition of serving their congregation over the past century, which grammatically is correct, but I think in terms of time, it would make sense to have the time before congregation so that the service speaks to the length of time. So it would be St. Bridget's and its members have continued the tradition over the past century of serving. Because when I read it at first, it almost seemed like it was the same congregation that has been served over the 100 years, which, although true, it isn't the same people. It's the same congregation, but some people have come and gone. So that's one. It doesn't need to change, but that's what I had. The second thing I did want to point out, perhaps I can get some support from the sponsors, is since this second paragraph speaks about serving the community, the fourth paragraph also speaks about serving the community. So could that go ahead of the other paragraph that speaks about the architecture? Something to think of, but those were my thoughts.
This, it would read this. Any opposition? Okay, great. So the new third paragraph here, whereas in 1925.
I would say the only thing there, we probably want to put a semicolon and an at the end of it so that it matches.
Would you like to join GOL?
Sorry.
No, please don't apologize. That was you are absolutely correct. Okay. Whereas St. Bridget's located in the center of town. Counselor Ette?
I didn't want to skip the fact that it said St. Bridget's community was largely composed of immigrants from Ireland and elsewhere in Europe. And I thought, wouldn't it be better to just speak of Irish immigrants or Irish and other European immigrants? Elsewhere in Europe is vague, but also downplays the other communities that were part of and Bridget's, I think.
Could you repeat your edit, please?
Irish and other European immigrants.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
All right, sorry. I keep rereading this and wanting to say while in 1925, or I want to break this into two sentences. It confuses me. But I can tell I'm being really nitpicky here. Are people bothered if we say, whereas while in 1925, the St. Bridget's community was largely composed of Irish and other European immigrants, today it includes a vibrant Hispanic community and hosts every month an African mass and potluck celebrating the African diaspora.
Mhm.
Are we okay with that? All right. On to this next. Oh, sorry, Hala, did you have something?
I was just saying yes.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Whereas St. Bridget's located in the center of town. Counselor Arte?
This, so it says an order at work welcoming its appreciation. There seems to be something missing there. Or if someone else reads it and it makes sense, could that be explained? Who is welcoming its appreciation?
Yep, nope, that is a valid question. Counselor Ryan, any thoughts? Oh, you're muted.
I'm going to turn to Ken on this one.
Yeah, I'm trying to deconvolute the sentence in my head.
Right. So, when you think, Ken, about what you wanted to express here, the main thought, of course, is the physical building,
Right.
and its place in downtown and its beauty.
I mean, I guess is the building and the community welcome being appreciated and being used as a resource. I don't know how easy to say that.
That makes sense. Okay, so you're saying Bridget's is an iconic landmark and artistic site.
Actually,
The building. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Counselor Arte.
yeah, I was actually reading it differently, that St. Bridget's likes the fact that people appreciate the architecture and come to the building. So it's St. Bridget's that is the subject. But if that's the case, if it could be, that's my interpretation, if it could be made clearer.
What if we move the it's to the second part? So it says an artwork welcoming appreciation and its use as a resource for residents and visitors. That makes sense. I don't know why that makes it make sense to me, but it does seem to. Okay, I'm going to continue on here to the now therefore. Okay. Any other notes on this? I would like to thank Counselor Ryan for putting forward my first commemoration. It is one of the things that we are able to do, and I appreciate the correct use of a commemoration. So thank you, Counselor Ryan. Do you have anything before I make a motion?
Again, just reaching thanks to Ken. This was
Yeah,
largely his work, and my job was simply to get it to you and to shepherd it through the process. But thank you.
Thank you, Ken, and thank you both for being here.
And thank you all.
Of course, I would like to move to find the Town of Amherst commemoration of the 100th anniversary of the dedication of St. Bridget's Church, Amherst, clear, consistent, and actionable.
Second.
and I'm going to call the vote. Counselor Lord,
Aye.
Counselor Ette,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well. So that passes. Thank you both so much and have a lovely evening. This will go to the council at our next meeting, I believe.
On the 18th.
18th. Great.
Thank you very much as well.
Thank you. All right. Let's move on to our second. I think Sarah's still here. Yeah. Let's move on to our second proclamation. And Lynn, I think I saw an email come through that there was a new paragraph.
We also have Sarah Marshall in the audience, who is the community sponsor.
Yep. Yeah, so Sarah, great, thank you. And I'm gonna put both up because I had made some edits, and so I just want to make sure
Hi,
that
Sarah.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Sarah. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you for taking this up.
Of course. All right, sorry, I'm just trying to get my life straight here.
Sarah, while we're doing this, it might be useful for you to give a little background of.
Oh, if you
this.
like, I thought,
Yeah.
yes, I know you aren't debating the merits, but I can give you a bit of the backstory. But I first want to say thank you, Lynn, for helping whip this into the shape it is. And secondly, that this effort has nothing to do with my work on school committee. I don't think anybody on school committee knows about this. In fact, hardly anyone yet knows about this. So the backstory is that this is part of what I'm doing here, offering to my city council, is part of a national effort that's gaining traction around the country to condemn the actions of the current administration. And it's my understanding that at least 60 resolutions have been offered so far in jurisdictions in 19 states. And so this is not the first. I would say maybe it's one of the first to get to where it is. And I would say that the resolution before you is very closely mirrors the resolution that the Boston City Council passed just last week, I think. So I received that resolution from the woman who submitted it. I'm not sure if she wrote it herself. I think she did, but these resolutions are all in circulation. So I'm just not claiming authorship for the majority of it, but I have made a fair number of edits to make it specific to violations, or at least one could assert are violations of the Constitution in light of Constitution Day, which is coming up in September. Certainly, one could have other resolutions that deplore the numerous reprehensible policy choices of this administration. This does not do that on purpose. It is really intended to be limited to what one can argue are affronts to our constitutional order. So that's where it is. I believe Stowe, the select board in Stowe, Massachusetts, has one on its agenda. I think Philadelphia was first out of the gate, like in February. They didn't waste any time. I believe Santa Fe has already passed something. I can't find them all, so I won't swear to it. But again, this is a movement. It's all in progress, and I hope that you all council certainly will endorse it, because silence is consent in this moment. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Sarah. So I believe, Lynn, I just took a quick look just so I didn't have to have two really similar documents up. I believe this was the paragraph that you had sent that was okay, I just pulled that from the other one. And so these have just the quick formatting changes that to align it up. All right, so let's start through it. council sponsor, community sponsor. First whereas.
May I have a question?
Oh yeah, of course.
I don't know if I tried to raise hand on the phone. I'm not sure if it's showing, but
Oh,
I'm wondering if I could be added as a council co-sponsor,
Absolutely.
please.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So, whereas September 17, 2025, Constitution Day will mark the 236th anniversary of the United States Constitution. And stop me if you got an issue. Second, whereas the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts of 1780 is one of the oldest functioning written constitutions in the world and served as a model for the United States Constitution of 1789. And whereas written by John Adams, the Commonwealth's Constitution involves key aspects of American governance. Whereas one of the foundational pillars of our democracy.
Excuse me, I don't know if, Hala's on the phone, so I don't know if she's also reading the text. I know it's long to read out loud, but,
Hala, would you like?
And I did read it ahead of time.
okay.
I've read this document. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. And thanks, Hala. All right. So whereas as James Madison wrote in Federalist Paper number 47, the accumulation.
Should self-appointed be hyphened?
Well, it's a quote.
Quote. So if it's
Then
not
no.
the quote,
No.
yeah. This just needs to be lowercase.
That should be a small I, yeah.
Whereas in just the first, I'm going to read the new paragraph. I think it was just an update of the years, right?
And one new affront to the Constitution.
One new affront. Okay, I will read it to include the new affront.
Because time, because every day is a new.
Every day. All
Yeah.
right. So whereas in just the first 7 months of his second term, however, President Trump and his appointees have shown a blatant disregard for the separation of powers by disobeying court rulings, attempting to overturn birthright citizenship, denying foundational civil liberties such as habeas corpus, withholding congressionally approved funds, closing congressionally created departments and agencies, unilaterally imposing tariffs, interfering in state-run elections, deploying the U.S. military on U.S. soil against our own residents, obstructing congressional oversight of executive departments and agencies, and launching military strikes without the consent or authorization of Congress in violation of the Constitution and the 1973 War Powers Act. And next, whereas President Trump and his appointees whereas the Supreme Court and Congress just a quick double comma there.
Ooh.
Whereas the actions whereas the people of Amherst.
It's a period, right?
Yes, that is now
Okay,
it should be period.
got it.
Now, therefore, we, the Amherst Town Council,
Yeah, small t, right?
okay. I had a question about this Do you mean every other US representative?
Yes, I feel the entire Massachusetts congressional delegation should
Yep,
get
okay.
it. It's not that many people.
Yeah, I'm just want to change this to be and other so that it kind of links them together. Otherwise, it feels a bit like tossed in there to me. So if we say
Yeah.
US representative,
Or the other US representatives from the Commonwealth. Yeah.
okay. Governor Maura Healey and Attorney General Andrea Joy Campbell. Okay. All right. Is there a motion to find the Town of Amherst resolution in support of democracy and calling for a return to the constitutional principles that are the foundation of our republic clear, consistent, and actionable?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. I'm going to call the vote.
It should say Griesmer and Lord.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Ette,
Aye.
Hala,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
I am an aye as well. Sarah, thank you so much for bringing this forward and for all the work that you've done and for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Can I ask a couple questions?
Yeah.
Could someone send me the final version even
Yeah.
before it gets into a packet?
Absolutely.
Because I will let you know, I'm going to seek as much press for this as possible because this kind of resolution is pointless if no one ever hears about it.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna,
It will be before the council on the 18th.
okay.
And so it will go into the packet tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's fine then. I don't need to.
I'm
That's-
happy to send it to you too, though, just to include you on the email. That's easy enough to do.
Okay,
Right.
thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Is that it for me? Okay.
That is it for you. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Good night.
Thanks for joining us, Sarah,
Thank you.
and for pulling this together.
Sure.
All right, so couple things left for us to do. First, I want to clarify the town council policy regarding the control and regulation of public ways and the committee charge for transportation and parking. We have still not received comments back from KP Law, and we are waiting for those before we can look at them. We could look at them now, but it's kind of redundant for us to do that, to then just have to start over once we get those comments back. So we are waiting. I hope to have those by our next meeting. Which I think is the 26th. I have to double check that, but I believe that's when it is. And so that's why nothing was in your packet. We have not gotten the legal comments back yet. I would like to move now to item 4 on our agenda, which is recommendations to fill the 2024 Charter Review Committee vacancy. I put in your packet, I know that we as counselors can see the CAFs, but I put in a quick overview of the CAFs that we have received without any identifying information. So I will share that and we can discuss. And I will share that the chair of the Charter Review Committee had said that at this point in their process, he didn't have specifics other than that it might behoove someone to kind of know, hang on, where like what the committee is doing because they've been working for so long that it might be hard for someone who's totally fresh in the process to come in. So he said that a familiarity with the process would be helpful. So this we have 2 CAFs currently. We had one other one. Oh my gosh. All right, hang on, I'm gonna stop sharing. This thing is not working. We had one other one, but that candidate, as I told you, withdrew their name from consideration. And I had emailed to confirm another candidate to see if they would like to, one of the other candidates who had indicated interest had said that they were no longer interested. So we are at these 2 interested folks. Sorry, I'm trying to share my screen again without it crashing. And we are now just looking to see, so as a reminder, our council policy on multi-member body appointments, when we think about determining pool sufficiency, I just wanted to read the quote from there. So it says, in making a determination regarding the sufficiency of the applicant pool, the recommending committee, that's us, shall consider the following factors. The number of applicants relative to the number of vacancies or impending vacancies. The council strives for more applicants than vacancies. The demographic diversity of the applicant pool. The council strives for a diverse applicant pool, including age, gender, race, income, homeownership or rental status, and location of residence, and the current needs of the body to be appointed, including any current burdens placed on the body by a vacancy. With that said, is there a motion to find the candidate pool for the Charter Review Committee sufficient? And or is there a motion or discussion?
I don't
Would
think,
Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Councilor Hurta, go ahead.
sorry about that. I don't think it's sufficient. It's not only about the numerical number, it is also about the diversity of the pool, and I don't think as of now it is diverse.
Okay. Are there any other comments on this? I think for me, I was looking back at the CAFs for the folks that we did select to be on the committee. I think that there are, if we're just looking demographic wise, while this pool in and of itself, these two people are not on paper very different from one another. Like our pool is not very diverse. We do have one other person who matches kind of all of this demographic information currently sitting on Charter Review. So that's to say, like, it's not that there's currently a plethora of folks with this demographic. And again, this is just demographics, right? Like we've got all sorts of other elements that factor in. I think for me, I would be okay finding this sufficient. Just given the lack of interest that we've seen, the fact that we have two individuals, I guess I'll stop there. I'm willing to make a motion, but I would like to talk about it more if we think that this is, and maybe it's just not, there's not much more to talk about if folks do or do not think this is sufficient, but. So Councilor Hurta, you're saying you do not think that this is sufficient. Lynn, you did not make a motion, so I'm presuming that you do not find this sufficient. Councilor Hurta?
I recognize that there is some kind of desire to fill the spots. But I think for quite some time we had about two candidates for the pool, and I don't think we are at that point where it is so necessary to fill the spots that we can't afford to wait for others to come up.
Lynn?
One of the concerns I have is that the initial criteria, even by the chair of the committee, have been questioned, and that makes this a different selection process. So the reason I say that is because we also have received an email from another member of the committee that suggests that, first of all, we should poll the whole committee. And second of all, that the issue is whether or not the person has experience and with what's been going on with this group. And that certainly was not a criteria in our original process. So I'm concerned when we add that criteria in, and then as a committee, our questions don't include that. And they also, it creates a bias, if you will, toward this selection process. At the same time, we have been criticized for not filling this position, okay? And I'm very sensitive to that criticism. We advertised it, and I have not, done significant research to check on, whether or not our chair has done her job, because I assume she has. And that we advertised the empty position. We waited to see, and whenever we've looked at this pool, it was not sufficient. And now we're coming down to, the last couple months of this process, and the criteria seems to have changed. And that concerns me. And the other piece is, this is not an ongoing committee. This is a finite committee. This committee will actually plan to complete its work sometime in January, is my understanding. And so that's really the concern I have at this point. And yet I'm very sensitive to the fact that the position has remained open. I also want to call attention to the fact that when we did do the whole debate on this, we debated whether or not we should have 7 or 9 people. It's only a recommending body. It's not like they take votes that have to be final. So and they clearly can have different viewpoints expressed in their report.
Any other comments? So the committee selection guidance that we had previously adopted, that I believe we could vote to amend if we would like to. Sorry, let me just share the screen. This is about the committee, not the applicant pool at this point, because we're not looking at a full applicant pool. So demographic diversity, variety of life experiences, prior community engagement outside of town government, prior engagement with a charter development process, prior experience in community engagement or outreach, prior experience with data collection, service on a town board or as an elected official, and representation across districts. So we don't have specifically in our charter review committee selection guidance that they had to have been involved in the process. And so that would not be a factor in the decision-making as to whether or not someone would be a good candidate unless we chose to amend this, other than, engagement in a development process. You could think of that one as, have they been engaged in the review process if you wanted to, but Hala, do you have any thoughts on this? No. Oh, sorry.
Still in agreement, kind of. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I do agree that adding new things after other committee members have been chosen feels maybe unfair, but I'm hearing what you're saying. So you're not saying that you have to have been a part of the process. So yeah, I don't know if I'm making sense. I'm in agreement with what Lynn said a lot.
Okay, thank you. And to my point is, whenever we fill a vacancy, we revisit the selection criteria, and we revisit the interview questions. And we did this so long ago now that my point is, it might not be a bad idea for us to look at that again, because we voted those in April. And so my thought is that we did add the question to the interview questions that we discussed. We did include the question, have you been able to observe any of the Charter Review Committee's meetings? We added that to the first question, which is, what is your understanding of the role of the Charter Review Committee? Have you been able to observe any of the meetings? That was added to the questions that we had been working on. Or that we had discussed. So I think that there's definitely elements to that, and I would support, based on what the chair said and based on members of the committee sharing how hard it might be for someone to get up to speed. I would be open to having the selection criteria include, familiarity with the current charter review committee's process as a benefit, knowing that we say one person may not have all of the selection criteria. But right now what we're talking about is whether or not this pool is sufficient. So I'll go ahead and make a motion and see if I get a second, and we'll see how this vote falls. But I move to find the charter review committee vacancy, the pool sufficient as of August 12th. Is there a second? Going once, going twice. Okay, that motion fails. So the pool is not found to be sufficient, and we will continue to request that folks send in community activity forms and let us know if they are interested in serving on this very important committee. Lynn, you had said I think one of the things that you said were you were reflecting on whether or not we want, or Councilor Ate, I can't remember which one of you said this first, I apologize. The question came up of whether or not we wanted to fill that vacancy, and I was curious, I think that was discussed at a meeting I wasn't at, but I just wanted to, is that something that you would like this committee to discuss at a further date, at another meeting?
I mean, I'm sorry, I should have raised my hand.
Go ahead, it's okay.
If we are going to discuss that, I think it would be useful to understand where the whole committee is coming from. I mean, I have watched a couple of the charter committee meetings. It's very much of a group process, and different people in the group bring, different strengths. It's actually a very good committee. I think it initially struggled a little bit, but I think it's really found its grounding.
Right.
And part of me wants to respect the fact that the whole committee or individuals on the committee may not be in the same agreement. So that's another issue for me. So anyway, that's all. And I mean, one option is to actually go to the charter committee meeting and have this. Another option is to have individuals, if they feel they want to contact, us or contact you as chair and voice their opinion. There's various ways to do that. I just find that in the process they are now, it just is so awkward to add another person. I just, it's a committee that's basically done all of its listening, and it's now summarizing what it's been hearing. So it's anyway,
All right.
Yeah.
I don't know what the process is if this committee decided it did not want to fill, or if that would be a council decision. I'm unclear on what the process is.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I will talk to Athena if that's something that you would like, if this committee would like to bring that to the council, I guess. Athena, thank you. Please help me.
Hi, thanks. This committee, if it chose to, could make a recommendation to the council not to make an appointment.
Okay. Lynn, is that a motion that you're making right now?
I would like to seek the consensus of the committee.
Okay, so let's talk about it. Councilor Ate, where are you? I will say I'm not comfortable voting on this without talking to the chair a bit more in depth about it, about the impact that would have, and kind of just I'd like to hear more from the committee. I've watched a couple meetings too, but not enough to, and I'm not on the committee, so I don't really know.
Right.
So I'm not comfortable making that vote today, I will say, without talking to the committee or at least the chair. Any other thoughts from committee members? But again, this is a vote. Y'all could easily vote this without me. Councilor Ate?
I would agree. And I would also like to know from the chair what the effect of the loss of the previous member was on proceedings up till now. So it merely isn't a case of plugging a hole, but it is also determining what was lost, what would be gained in the process. So I agree it's not an urgent vote, and it would be good to speak with the chair. It would also be good to listen to other members of the committee, and they are a few who have already made their thoughts known on this specific question.
Lynn?
Just the ninth member of the committee resigned, I think, within the first 2 months. So this position has been vacant all that time. I don't know that, therefore, I don't know that you could say this is what was lost with that position. That's the only point I want to make. I have no idea. Maybe committee members do have a thought on that.
Yeah. So we can invite the chair to join us for our next meeting. It sounds like I can try to capture those questions and send them via email, but it would be more helpful if committee members have questions for the chair. Please email those to me and I will reach out. They meet on Thursdays, but obviously who knows what the chair's calendar is, if he'd be able to join us for a meeting or not, but I'm happy to invite him to have that discussion so that if there are follow-up questions we could ask. Would the committee like me to do that?
Again, I think that the real thing is how to hear from the full committee.
So our options are to ask the full committee to come and have a joint meeting, or for us to join for one of their meetings. And again, we'd have to cross post it, right? Right, Athena? We'd have to.
Right. We'd have to post both meetings.
Yep. I mean, I'm happy to invite them to one of ours. I think we are a smaller group, I will say. So if we can go to theirs, that would probably be simpler. But Athena, when is their next one? Just, I'm trying to look on their calendar at the thing, but I don't know which alternate, if we're on an on week or an off week.
Yeah, I'm just checking. They just had a meeting. They're meeting this Thursday. I'm sorry, their calendar kind of changed, and so now I'm mixed up.
That's okay. I know, Athena, we're touching base tomorrow. I'm happy to, we can kind of figure out what might some options be, and then I can email the committee to ask if folks are able to join for that discussion. And just to be clear, what we're asking about when we join, just to make sure it's a good use of everyone's time, we're just talking about what's the impact of not having this ninth member, and talking through a bit of what the criteria would be should we move forward, versus would they prefer that we not, as a committee, would they prefer that we not move forward? Is that kind of the gist of it? Okay. So Athena, I think you and I are touching base for logistics tomorrow. Would it be more helpful for us to figure out when this could work at that point? Maybe.
I don't think we are on for tomorrow. I think we're meeting next week. But the charter review, they have 2 subcommittees. Their feedback subcommittee is meeting this Thursday, so the full committee would meet next Thursday.
Okay. All right, so I will ask if we can join for 10 minutes or so in their meeting next Thursday. And I will let this committee know. And if folks are able to join for that, great. Does that sound like a good plan to go forward? And my Post-it notes got buried. All right. So, sorry, I'm writing, and if I don't write it down, I will forget what I'm supposed to ask the chair. All right, with that, we can move on to our next topic then, unless there's anything else on this. No? Okay. All right, so I put a I want to stress the brainstorm level of what I put into your packet. And the reason why I want to stress that is that I think it can be really overwhelming to look at something that people have drafted, and yet trying to create something from scratch as a committee is gosh darn near impossible. So I started putting something together, and I wanted to walk through it and get just some thoughts on it, and then we can either edit it, or if we want to scrap it completely and start from scratch, we are welcome to. But what we were talking about is the town manager evaluation. And basically what I drew up was, I'm going to share my screen, but the premise here was when we talked about this, one of the things we talked about was, first off, ignore the page length here, that the process feels too onerous, that it's too text heavy to be useful, and that the ratings themselves cover too much or are too vague to actually, they kind of all come out muddy. So the other aspect that we talked about was that there's the town manager goals, but then there's the day-to-day work of the town manager that might not be reflected in the goals. Our town manager, the closest thing that we have to a job description for the town manager is in the charter. It outlines the roles and basically roles and responsibilities of that position. And I've asked for the job posting from when we posted for the town manager position, but I haven't gotten it yet, which is totally understandable. So right now I worked with what was in the charter. There's 3 parts to this draft that, again, I just drafted onto a piece of paper. The first part is the job performance. This is based on the description of the town manager's role in the charter. For this and the second part, there's no text entry. This is just a numerical response. There are A through V, so 20 something tasks or responsibilities listed in the charter. When I drafted this out, I couldn't fully make decisions. So I thought about some possible scales to use, some evaluation scales. And I said, okay, for each of these responsibilities, did the town manager did he meet most of them, exceed expectations, meet some but not all, minimal, did not meet, or unable to evaluate? Counselors would go through and select a numerical evaluation for each of the items listed as a job duty of the town manager. This looks onerous, but again, all you're getting here are numericals. I am not asking for comments on these. And I'm adding in an option that says unable to evaluate. If someone doesn't know, they should click unable to evaluate. And we should make sure that that's really clear in instructions. If they're saying, you know, there was one here, for example, this one, right? Set the compensation of all town employees and officers. We think that he did that, right, within the limits, but I don't know for sure that every single salary is established within the limits established by appropriation. That could be one where it's appropriate for me to say not applicable. My rating doesn't have enough information behind it to be factored in. So giving that option felt important. Similarly, investigate or inquire into the affairs of any town agency under the authority. Paul could tell us about this in his self-evaluation if he wanted to, or if a counselor did not feel they are able to evaluate, they could select not applicable or not able. But yeah, so these are each of the job duties would receive a numerical ranking, not ranking, numerical evaluation. There we go. I'm having coffee because I'm exhausted right now and it's not kicking in fast enough. Sorry. That's part 1. part 2 is goal performance. So we've listed out a bunch of goals. Again, these are numerical. These are not text-based entries. For each goal, indicate whether the goal was met or expected progress was made. So if we're saying, you know, while I tried really hard to make sure every goal was achievable within the year, some of them are not. And so this first one is goal was met or expected progress was made. Goal was partially met or partial progress was made. Goal was unfinished, or meaning most or all aspects were not achieved or the goal was not started. And an option for a goal that was deprioritized from the council. We would then list the goals out, and they would, counselors would go through and say 1 through 3. And then because people need to write things, they feel they need. I tried to be pretty restrictive on what we're asking for with comments. I'm open to having one longer answer, but when we think about what is useful, this is a utilitarian process. This is not a process just to expound on what we feel should be different. This is a performance review. It is not an indictment on the town. It is not a reflection on how individuals feel the town manager has or has not done exactly what they wanted. This is, has the town manager done what we as a council have voted to say the town manager should do? So that's really why I cut this back so much. There are plenty of other avenues for counselors to express displeasure or happiness with the job that the town manager is doing outside of his performance review. So what I thought would be helpful, and again, one of the lenses that I was using here was if we didn't have our current town manager and we had someone who was relatively inexperienced, and we really needed to think about their, not everyone is always still growing, right? I'm not saying that, but especially if we were thinking about someone who's relatively junior in their career, we think about first, what are 3 areas of strength in the town manager's performance over the past year? Please limit your total response to 300 words. This is roughly between 1/2 and 1 full page. And 3, limit it to 3. Pick 3 things that the town manager did well, and then 3 areas of improvement that you've observed. It should be based on, I've struggled with wording these, but in the town manager's performance over the past year, again, please limit your total response to 300 words. I had typed in, do you have other comments? And then I took it out. I am happy to put it back in if people would like me to, but we really need to think about this as a performance review. This is not a bully pulpit for individual opinion. This is about how do we review the performance based on the goals and the job description. I would be happy to discuss this with, I obviously we are going to discuss this. I think that I'm happy to take big picture comments first, and then I'd like to go through each section to talk about them. And this is in your SharePoint packet. Councillor Ette.
I noticed that Councillor Lord had her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's an issue. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Councillor Lord, I apologize for not seeing your hand. You're still muted. I don't know if you're. Okay, I will pay closer attention to the hands now. Sorry, with the shared screen. I apologize if I missed you, Councillor Lord, but please feel free to jump in whenever. Starting with broad, kind of a bit more conceptual feedback on where this is going. And again, I tried to base this on our conversations that we had as a committee. This was not just my pulling this out of nowhere. Lynn.
First of all, thank you for taking a stab, because I think that having something to talk about is much more useful than not. And what I do like about this is it does take into consideration what the charter says, and therefore covers, if you will, the full job, not just the goals of the council. So I like the idea of having that. I also like the idea of trying to, I mean, percentages are tough to do, but nevertheless I saw what you did, and I'm looking at them and I'm going, okay, I could deal with that. The thing that I think we're still going to find is that on the goals, because goals often have 3 and 4 parts to them, is that you want to say definitely a high ranking for one of them, but a lower ranking for another piece of them. And so that's what still leaves me with the dilemma. But I really appreciate bringing in the description of the full job based on the charter.
Well, let's talk about this because when we did the goals, we have the goals that are bigger picture, and then we have the action items. And I think that I was picturing this as an action items punch list. And then, so maybe it's, and I don't think I clarified this, so this is a really good note. When I wrote it, I was picturing each action item getting that number, and then you could pull your average for the bigger picture goal based on those numbers, or just keep it as the action items. But you're absolutely right that if we just look at the goal statements that we had, they're much too broad to be able to say complete, start, all of that. How do folks feel about using the action items? It's still fewer than we had last time. No thoughts. Oh, sorry, Len, go ahead.
Yeah. As long as we're not collecting comments, I think using the action items is useful. In other words, separating out the pieces of the goal. It's when people start saying comments that people just like shake their head. And some people comment and some people don't. Then some people get upset because their comments weren't included in the summary. And I could go on. So as long as we stick to the idea that it is just a ranking, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I agree, and I think that the way that we should explain this to folks is by saying, if there's one that was really, you marked really low and you feel like you need to talk about it, that's one of your areas of improvement, and that is the space. And those areas of improvement can be pulled from goals or job description, either
Yes.
one. I think that's a key point. Similarly, if there's something that was absolutely outstanding in the goals, where you rank it high, as you should, and then you include it in the areas of strength
Mhm.
that you saw.
Right.
Yeah, I do feel pretty strongly in terms of having a usable, functional process that we should not have comments on every single item. If it were just one person doing this, that would be different. But with 13 people of varying response lengths and intensities, it gets too hard when we need to distill it down to one document at the end.
Right. And my other question then is, how would you see this in a summarized format? Having been the person who's done that now more than once.
Right.
That's the most difficult part, to be
Yeah.
honest.
So my thought with the first two pieces, the numerical, quantitative, that's simple enough, right? Of showing
Mhm.
average response.
Yeah.
I think that the qualitative piece, keeping it to 3 strengths and 3 areas of growth, it could be as simple as, here were I know that that's still what, 39 pieces per, did I math that correctly? 39 for each. Thank you. For each of them, but there's likely to be crossover. So I think for that, it would be looking for themes that emerged in terms of the strengths. It could be as simple as a list and some pull quotes, or that try to get the different opinions in. I imagine that the strengths people are going to have will overlap, and so you could, when I say theme finding, that's more what I mean there. But I think narrowing the question that we're asking folks will help us to get to a point where that qualitative summarization, or just the summarization, will be simpler versus just a open comments box. That's my thought, is that providing some direction and limiting the number to up to 3.
Yeah,
and
I
the-
mean, I do think that if you're going to do an evaluation of someone, there needs to be a written summary. And that's been the challenge, is then making people feel like what they've said has been included, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, no, I'm that was my initial question about that. It was just how you saw this then as a summary. Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Counselor Etse?
I just wanted to commend you for your construction and the work that went into it. This isn't easy, not for someone that is new, and I'm sure even those who are seasoned professionals, this is hard work. And so this I really like. I also always tend to being brief, so I appreciate your display of brevity. 3 is the max, so you can always expect that you may not get up to 3, and so it may actually even be less or fewer. So that's good. And I like the separation between what you get from the charter and what the goals are. And if this were done enough times, then there might be a pattern that could be drawn to see what a town manager tends to focus on, and then that could help in further iterations going on. So this is really good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Lynn,
Mhm.
do you think that, well, I'm going to pose this question to everyone. I think what you're talking about with folks wanting to provide examples when they give a numerical score or ranking, whatever you want to call it, without adding a comment box to each thing, because that would absolutely get unwieldy. Would you rather have, I like don't want to say this because it adds to it. I mean, you could have a box at the end of the job description that says pick one example that you'd like to highlight or something like that. To be honest with you as well, I think that starts to get a little bit messy. And again, because you have to summarize 13 of these, it's very hard to say Anna gave you a 3 for this one because of XYZ, but Counselor Ette gave you a 1 on this one for exactly the same reason. That it starts to get confusing and less useful for Paul. That was my thought process in going towards the 3 strength, 3 areas of opportunity. But would you all as counselors like to see more opportunity to explain your scores that you're providing beyond the 3 things that you presumably rated high as strengths and 3 things you presumably rated low as areas of growth? Is it
I personally, I like the idea, and if people can stick to that, I like the idea that you've said, just no comments during the thing. If you see something that you really want to make sure you make the point, use it later on in your points.
So, Lynn, you're leading me to my next question,
Mm-hmm.
which is I think oftentimes we have gotten ourselves into a pickle because we put these in Microsoft Word, which allows folks to type in decimals or fractions or go to whatever limit they would like.
Prohibit that.
I would like to say that something that's going to be really critical is that these are completed consistently by counselors. That means whole numbers only, even when it's hard. And it does mean sticking to a word count and not typing in a paragraph. So my initial thought was if we're able to use some sort of survey tool, that would be beneficial.
Mhm.
If we have to use Word, I'd like to just, I want to play with it to try to make it a bit more like a form. We could make it a fillable PDF would be my other recommendation if we can't do a survey tool. But logistically, I think that it's really tempting for folks to want to add in comments, especially when it's in Word. And that can be challenging. So I just wanted to
Mhm.
ask the question. I know that we use a survey tool for the internal process
Right.
of seeking feedback, and I would just like to know if there's a way for us to use that. And I know like Charter Review used one. Is there a reason why we cannot use some sort of, I guess it's not internal, it's an external survey tool.
No, there's none at all. And again, I think if we're very explicit, you can't split ratings. One of the major reasons people split ratings is because of the different things under each of the goals. So if we have each of those things with a rating, then you're not going to run into that as much as a problem. So I think that can be avoided using this format and being very clear what you're allowed to do and not do.
Okay, so what I can try to do is, a lot of these look really similar. I can try to actually draft up a mock-up of this, but what's in SharePoint is a Word document. I would love for folks to mull it over, take a look, think about it. I will also share it with Paul to get feedback. But take some time. We're not voting on anything yet. And I can turn this into sort of a sample one. And what I'd actually also really love is for each of us to fake go through it, to practice it as if we were evaluating the town manager now, see how long it takes us to complete and see what spits up. And I'm going to clarify, put in fake numbers. Please do not actually complete this as in GOL would perform its own little performance evaluation. Please put in fake numbers. And let's just see how long it kind of takes us to do this and what comes out the other side and if it's useful once we start looking at it. I'd like us to kind of mock up the process if that's okay. So what I will do is turn this into some sort of version that is send outable. And I will send you all a copy to complete, come back to our next meeting prepared to report out your thoughts and feelings on how that went. And we'll look at sort of how the results come together. Does that sound like it'll be it's that, in my mind, that would be helpful, but I'm not sure that it is for other folks. So I just want to check in. Would that be beneficial?
I think so. I think it's going to be very hard for us to mock rate, but I will also tell you that having set up all the tables over time and so forth, that's how I do it. I use mock rates. One of the other pieces that I think is but let's finish this discussion before I raise that. Okay.
Is it about
Um,
eval?
Is it about what?
The evaluation?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So I'll do that. And yeah, if you have a minute, I'm just going to go literally 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Like that's when I say fake numbers. That's what I mean. But you know, yeah. However you choose to mock it up, and we'll come back together to see what changes we might want to make. The other piece that will be helpful to see at that point is I will have put in all the action items. And so you can kind of see really how those come into play. What I believe is going to happen is this is going to drive home the point that our action items need to be clear, specific, doable within a year. And everybody has to be on the same page about what completion of it looks like. So I think that will be a really helpful reminder to folks. This is one of those chicken and egg situations where we've tried to explain why those action items needed to be really specific. And now folks are going to start to see why, hopefully. Lynn, what's your?
No, I like this. I like that we're proceeding, but let me raise my other issue.
Yes, please.
I have felt for a long time that the evaluation that we have with staff is absolutely useless. Most of the staff don't have the knowledge to even do the evaluation. That's number one. And the second piece is a lot of times, frankly, they do the evaluation based on other issues that are going on in town and it has nothing to do with actual performance. So one of the things I'd like us to do is have a conversation about what we want to do with that piece of it.
Yeah, that thought, I mulled that a little bit today, and I agree that the feedback we get isn't always helpful. Sometimes it's enlightening, it's sharing things we didn't know about. One of the thoughts that I had was if there's a way to create a version of this where, okay, so this is going to sound a little convoluted, but if initially I took a market research survey today and it
Mhm.
had logic in it where it said who was asking about primary candidates, and it said which of the following candidates would you be interested in voting for, and then I checked off those ones, and then it asked a question for each of the ones I checked off saying, what do you like about this candidate, right? If we could do something similar where we say, here are all the aspects of the town manager's job description. Which ones do you feel directly impact you and your work? They check them off. And then the next page says, what do you feel the town manager is doing well in this area? What is an area of growth? And we kind of ask in that same framing, what's going well, what's an area of growth? But they pre-select which ones are relevant to them, or that they would like to speak to. That is not going to say that you're going to stop only hearing from folks who are frustrated or really happy. I don't think that there's a perfect cure for that, to be honest, but I think if we can at least channel it into a format that lets us better understand what it's speaking to, or what aspect of the town manager's job it's speaking to, I think that would make it more useful to us, is if we kind of add in like like that logic piece of which of these are you like most impacted by or wanting to speak to.
Yeah. I anything to improve it. I think even just changing it would probably increase responses because people would say, or it might decrease responses. Right now, what we have is virtually useless.
Yeah, I mean, the other question we could ask would just be that last question of what are 3 things the town manager did really well this year? What are 3 areas you'd like to see improved in the coming year? And I think even if folks have more than 3, realistically, we can't fix all of them in 1 year. And so having folks prioritize and say, what are the 3 most urgent would help us to understand, again, what is most urgent. And, folks are welcome to communicate anything beyond 3 with us at any point. It's just for the purposes of the data collection, limiting that number to 3, just like we are for counselors, allows us to focus it in a bit more.
Right.
Let's get ours. This has been really helpful to kind of think through the options. And I agree with you, just changing it up is going to be helpful. But I can try to take a stab at that, at both of those versions possibly for the next meeting, or at least we can continue this discussion. Any other thoughts on this, on either piece of this, the counselor evals or the staff input?
No, thanks again for getting us going with something.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had some really good brainstorms. Counselor Ette?
I was just wondering if we end up finding the initial job description that was used for the town manager, will that be useful in this process, or that's something that we can ditch now?
I think we might honestly be able to kind of ditch it because it should, let me rephrase. If it's wildly different than what's in the charter, that's a different discussion that we need to have. It should be very similar, if not the same, because the charter is, I know, but because the charter is outlining that role, the job description might include some other things, certain experiences or things like that aren't in here. But my understanding is that what outlines the job of the town manager and what would be fair to evaluate him on is the role as outlined in the charter. That's my opinion. I do think that if the job description varies drastically, that's a problem. And hopefully we're not hiring a new town manager anytime soon, but that's one that would need to be corrected should that job description be in use.
The reality is that the town manager was hired prior to the adoption of the charter.
Right.
And so he was hired knowing that the change could happen, but the vote had not been taken yet.
Yeah, that's right. So I guess his job description changed then once the charter was enacted. So this would be the
Certainly did.
Yeah, so this would be the most up-to-date job description then.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lynn, for the historical vignette.
I'm wearing my history shirt, so that all works. It's not mine. It's my wife's history shared. I was not a history major. So all right. So my marching orders, I know I can get one done for our next meeting. I will try to get all of them done, but no promises. I will turn this evaluation into something fillable and send it out to you prior to the next meeting so that we can discuss. And I'll try to create the options for the staff questionnaire evaluation. One option, we could put them together, but one option is what are the top 3 strengths? What are the top 3 opportunities? The other option would be a logic where they can select aspects of the job description or goals.
Mhm. I think there's any number of options, but I also point out that I believe we're the only group that even asks staff. I don't think other towns do that.
I think that if we could make it a less onerous process and make it so that the information we receive is framed in a way that's useful for us, I think that it is I think it's a good practice.
Mhm.
I think that it's a fraught practice when it is data that is not used or useful, then it can cause harm.
Right.
So that's my hot take is I'd love to mess with this to figure out how to make sure it's useful. If it stays the way it is, we shouldn't do it because it's not helpful. It's not channeled in a way from, let me rephrase. From feedback I have heard from many counselors, this is not an official council opinion. The feedback that we get from staff is not as useful in the evaluation because the evaluation was looking at something completely different than what we were asking staff. So they all need to align if this is going to get anywhere close to helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're all in agreement on that.
Awesome. Pause point. It sounds like we've got stuff to do. The Word version is in SharePoint. Please feel free to mark it up. I didn't put in the ratings for every single aspect. I just tried to give you an idea. But again, if you've got different thoughts, if on the options for job performance metrics, we've got option 1 was the percentages. Option 2 was I like the percentages because they feel a bit cleaner. Option 2 was unacceptable performance, partially successful, fully successful, and unable to evaluate. Only just 3 options instead of 4. So take a look. Let me know your thoughts by our next meeting or at our next meeting, and we'll get something to the council to discuss further.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, cool. That was quicker than I thought it would go. Because we don't have the comments back from KP Law yet, that takes care of our full agenda items. Upcoming, hopefully we get those comments back from KP Law soon. And then we will be tackling the Transportation and Parking Commission charge and the policy regarding control and regulation of the public way edits. Again, we are only reviewing those for clarity, consistency, and actionability.
Yeah.
I have not received edits to the rules of procedure. I know, like many other folks, for me, it's been on my to-do list, but it's been on that, like, not even the back burner. It's on that warming burner that, like, you can put candles on. So I would really like to get to that, but until it's one of those things that until someone submits something, I'm not necessarily going to keep putting it on every agenda. So if you have edits, you're welcome to make them at any time. Just send them to me and I'll happily put that on an agenda. There are a couple things that got pushed also onto that warming burner for this committee, including the legislative process guide. It is sitting with GOL. We need to decide if we would like to recommend that the council use it in some capacity. We have not had, other than tonight, a lot of early endings. So it has not been put on an agenda yet, but I just to confirm have not forgotten about it. And then there's a couple other things that I'm hearing are in the works that will go to other committees and then come to us. And then before too long, we will be starting the actual town manager evaluation process, not just redoing the form, but conducting it. So we need to, that's really going to be our focus for the next meeting.
We actually introduced that whole concept in
October.
late September.
Yeah, I had it in October. So hopefully we'll get that done at our next meeting and to the council for their meeting after that.
Okay.
Are there any other upcoming agenda items that I did not mention? I will say I just was pulling those from my head. I did not have my list up in front of me. I'm sure we'll have
You mentioned that there are other committee items that are in the works in other committees that we're going to eventually get, but that's when we get them, we get them.
Yep, exactly. So, all right. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, I'm going to call the vote. Lynn,
Aye.
Counselor Ate,
Aye.
Hala. I'm sorry, Counselor Lord. I apologize.
Aye.
Thank
It's
you.
okay. It's okay. Aye.
And I am an aye as well. All right. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I will see you at the council meeting.
Yeah. Take care.
Everybody.
Thank you.